as you know, this course is going to be about reducing anxiety and stress. Hey, quit doing things halfway. Stop putting half yourself into things and put yourself 100% into achieving your goals. All right, a lot of times we go into things halfway. And my dad had a term for that. It was called half something. We'll keep this PG. Anyway, put yourself 100% into what you want to achieve. Get obsessed about it. Now, we're going to talk about anxiety here. Your mindset moment for this course: self-doubt kills success. That's from Jesse Itzler. Think about that a minute. Self-doubt kills success. So you doubting yourself is what kills your success. I don't care if we're talking about success in your career, success in, or if we're talking about success in life, your family, your marriage, whatever that might be. And in this case, maybe it's just success at leading a life that's not full of stress. So our course outline for today is we're going to do a quick review. Then we're going to talk about what anxiety is. We're going to talk about how anxiety affects us. We're going to talk about today's major causes of anxiety, and then we're going to talk about how to reduce anxiety in our lives. And then we'll have our take action takeaway. So a review of your current action plan, folks. This is what you should be doing up to this point if you've taken all the previous prerequisite courses. All right. You should have made a friend that leads a healthy lifestyle. Hopefully you've made more than that now, and hopefully you're starting to interact with more and more people that are like-minded. You should be practicing traffic light eating. It should be becoming much more something you don't have to think quite as much about at this point. You should have started to eliminate toxic foods and toxins. You should have started moving, so we should be exercising, folks, and a little bit more each day, unless you're already at the point where you're exercising that hour and a half a day. We should have started writing our goals daily in the morning and reviewing them before bed. Hopefully you guys are finding this valuable. I know I find it hugely valuable. I was all over the place till I started writing my goals down. I was having trouble focusing and achieving my goals. Before I started writing them down, they were just dreams. Then writing them down made them goals. Hopefully you've started to measure your health. Log how you feel. Use the scale. Use your measurements. See where you're going and see what the effect is of the changes you've made. As a matter of fact, in the note in the Q&A part of this course, why don't you put in there how you are doing and so far? Put in hey, I've lost 5 pounds, 10 pounds, whatever it is, and how you're feeling. That's in the comment section of this course, folks. You should be keeping health top of mind. Okay, you should be working on that new mindset. Hopefully you've watched the mindset course a few times at this point. Work on getting that success mindset. Hopefully you're listening to some podcasts, some audiobooks, you're watching some documentaries, you're reading some healthy lifestyle and success books. You don't have to do all that right now. I know you guys are focusing a lot on the course, but try to pick up at least a podcast or something you can listen to in the car. All right? Also, from the last course, you should now be getting much more creative from the budgeting course on how you shop organic. So hopefully you're getting creative and you're saving yourself money. You should have cleaned out those toxic foods in your pantry. You should be visiting farmers markets, and you should be cooking 80% of your meals at home. So what is anxiety? Anxiety is a normal and often a healthy emotion. However, when a person regularly feels disproportionate levels of anxiety, it might become a medical disorder. So let's talk about this. Anxiety versus fear. In order to understand what anxiety is, we need to understand the difference between anxiety and fear. So anxiety is essentially what's building up to things. We're thinking about things. We're worried about something. We're worried about a dangerous or stressful situation or something threatening. You may also experience anxiety when you think about something stressful or dangerous that could happen to you. Maybe there's a snowstorm where you're at and you have to drive somewhere, so you're anxious about it because you're fearful. You're anxious. You're worried that there's going to be an accident or you're going to get stuck or something to that effect. Fear, on the other hand, is what you experience while you're engaging in the situation. Fear happens during the action. Think about the last time you went on a roller coaster. Anxiety is what you felt when you were in line looking at the hills, steep drops, and loops, as well as hearing the screams of other riders. You also likely felt anxiety when on the roller coaster as you got closer to the top of the first hill. Fear is what you experienced as you went over the peak of the hill and started to fall on your first hill and throughout the ride. That's fear. Fear is what happens in the moment. For a warrior, a soldier, a Marine, it's anxiety is going into battle. Fear is what happens while you're in battle and the shots are flying. Same thing for a police officer, fireman. Anxiety is before they get to the fire. Once they're in it, then it's fear that takes over. So there's this fight or flight mechanism that our bodies have, right? And anxiety essentially triggers that fight or flight. All right. So it stresses essentially, it fires off that fight or flight mechanism. When our ancestors were in a physical danger, their bodies released chemicals. All right. Those primary chemicals are adrenaline increased and cortisol increased, right? What do those chemicals do? They increase your heart rate. They slow your digestion. They shunt blood flow to major muscle groups. Your vision narrows, you get like tunnel vision, and there's changes to your autonomic nervous system functions. Folks, imagine what happens when we're under stress all the time. If we're a stressed out person all the time, imagine what happens. You heard what I told you about my history with anxiety. This is still something today that I have to work on a regular basis. The busier I get, the more anxious I get. Okay, so I have to meditate on a regular basis. I take some supplements. You'll learn a little bit later about some genetic stuff that I know that I have that makes you a bit predispositioned. That doesn't mean you have to be stressed out all the time, though. There's ways to get relaxed. There's ways to not be stressed all the time. We're going to talk about those a little bit later in the lesson. So there are positive effects of this, though, right? I mean, if we're really in danger, okay, this is all of these things that the chemicals do to us give us increased strength, increased speed. They prime our senses, and they allow us to survive in hostile environments. Our ancestors, these are the things that would let them fight wild animals and other people that were potentially threatening them. So this was important, all right, very important, and it still is important. For example, let's say you almost got in a car accident and you saw something coming, you got anxious, your senses got primed, and suddenly you drove through this mess of whatever it is and you end up out the other side unscathed. Because you got tunnel vision. Your reflexes got faster. You got a little stronger. You made it through because of anxiety and stress. So in that way, it's a good thing. It's not always a bad thing. But here's the thing. After our ancestors, after that physical activity, that running from the bear, that running from the lion, that fighting whatever, the tiger, whatever it is, they were physically tired. Okay, because the physical activity burned off the adrenaline and cortisol. All right, so their bodies then return to a relaxed state. All right, and then they're tired and they require rest. All right, this guy here, he's tired. He just got done in some huge battle, and he's tired. He needs rest. So today's stress. All right, sure, we've all had close calls where we have to react quickly. But unless you're in a job such as a firefighter, police officer, corrections officer, soldier, sailor, airman, or Marine, you just do not have to deal with fight or flight very often. All right? So what happens? The stresses of today are not usually of life and limb on a regular basis. Instead, we get stress from fake danger. It's all manufactured. We're worried about our job. We're worried about our financial situation. We're worried if our wife loves us, if our husband loves us. We're worried if our kids love us. We worry about all these things that we don't have control over. All right, we anticipate bad outcomes. The major issue here is that the adrenaline and cortisol build up in our system, and for a lot of people, they just don't get released. And the reason why they don't get released is because we're a pretty sedentary culture in Western culture. You know, there's a large majority of people that do work out and do exercise on a regular basis and do burn these things off. Maybe not in the moment, but at least later on in the day. All right, but for the majority of the people in the United States anyway, that's not the case. So this stuff builds up in the system. Hey, that's the end of chapter 1. How does anxiety affect us? Hey, listen, folks, you're not the feeling that you feel. The feeling is just running through you. Okay, so don't feel like you're the feeling that you feel. If you're sad, if you're depressed, you're not that feeling. All right, understand it. Look at it. Look at what's running through you. Acknowledge it. All right, and then let it go. This takes practice. I'm still practicing, by the way. Hey, the stress cycle. So listen, stress builds up in your body. This is where the big problem comes in. It's not like we just get stressed out about something and it just completely goes away unless we've done something to get rid of it. All right, unless we've exercised to get rid of the adrenaline and the cortisol, unless we've meditated to reset ourselves, we don't get rid of the stress. All right, it doesn't just go away. All right, we have this chemical response. The stress accumulates in our body. These chemicals accumulate in our body, and you know the crazy thing is food affects us, right? Let's say the meat we ate was stressed out because it was fed all kinds of antibiotics to make it sick and bloated, and it was in close quarters and crapping all over itself, and it was stressed all the time, and its cortisol and adrenaline levels were high, and then we eat that. We're eating all that cortisol and adrenaline, so that can stress us out, all right? We're going to get a little more into causes of stress, but that's one of them, all right? The only way we can normalize is for stress outlets, things like deep sleep, exercise, physical detoxing, right? So stress is not just a mind thing, folks. It's a body thing, all right? Verbal expression, crying, laughing, meditation, relaxation. Have you ever met that person that just like binds it all in and never gets angry or never gets upset about anything, and they just keep it all inside? And they're just a stress case. They're just about to explode any minute. It reminds me of that movie Anger Management with Adam Sandler. Anyway, symptoms of stress, right? So there's the graphic on the left. We're going to go through these a little bit here. So restlessness, a feeling of being on the edge. I think that's what a lot of us feel like when we're stressed out. Uncontrollable feelings of worry, increased irritability. All right, this is one of mine. I'm guilty of this one. When I'm stressed out, I get to be a little bit irritable. You can just ask my kids and my wife. Concentration difficulties and headaches. I used to get really bad headaches from stress as early as at 22 years old. Actually, I went to the doctors, the Navy doctors, when I was in the Marine Corps because I was getting these horrible headaches. Turns out it was from stress. Sleep difficulties. All right, so you have trouble sleeping because of stress. Heart arrhythmias. This one hit me. This one hit me hard. And you know what? Today, there's only one trigger that will trigger my AFib. I mean, it's gone for the most part, but once in a while, once every year or two, I'll have one episode, and it's always when I'm really stressed out. And typically meditation can take me back into normal rhythm. I pop an aspirin, I meditate, I get back in normal rhythm within an hour. I let my doctor know about it, and all's good. All right? Muscle tightness. This is one we can all relate to, I think. You know, your shoulders tighten up, your calf muscles, your muscles get really tight. Shallow breathing. And this one makes things even worse because the less oxygen we're getting to our muscles and our bodies, the more stress we're going to feel. All right? It's just going to keep heightening that stress. Weakened immune system. So people that are stressed out all the time, they get sick a lot. Listen, when I had all my anxiety issues, I was sick a lot. I mean, a lot. I'd catch every bug that came by. Panic attacks. I had panic attacks, folks. I mean, bad panic attacks. I thought I was going to die panic attacks. All right. And, quite frankly, I was on Zyrtec's allergy medicine. I was on Xanax for maybe about 3 years. And Xanax can be very addictive. I had to wean myself down off of it, and I did it with the help of a psychologist that specialized in anxiety disorders, and he helped me through a lot. He helped me. So talking to people, that helps a lot, and we're going to get into some of those things. All right, sexual dysfunction. Hey guys, if you can't get it up, it could be stress. It could be a combination of what you're eating and stress. Eating poor foods makes your body more stressed out. All that inflammation makes your body more stressed out. Depression. All right? Depression happens when you're stressed out all the time. The chemicals in your brain start causing you to become depressed. Hey guys, here's the biggest symptom: early death. All right? People that stress all the time don't live as long. This is why it's one of my biggest things that I'm trying to improve in my life and have been for the last 11 years. There's a longer list of symptoms in the PDF in the resource section of this course. So there's like 50, all right, 50 different symptoms. So you can go through that. There's also, there are some online tests you can take. If you go to your doctor, though, they have a test that you just take, and it tells you if you're stressed out, and then they'll try to prescribe you medication usually. So you might want to look at alternative methods before going to medication. I recommend like an integrative medicine doctor first, or even a psychiatrist to talk to before you go and start jumping on medications, unless you're having panic attacks and you really absolutely need it. But I'm not a doctor, so I'm just going on my own experience. You need to see your doctor if you're having severe anxiety. Hey folks, that is the end of chapter 2. Welcome to chapter 3. What are today's causes of anxiety? When feeling anxious, ask your anxiety, why are you here? I know it sounds a little weird, right? I'm going to talk to my anxiety, but talk to your anxiety. Why are you here? What are you here for? And what's your intention? Think about it. Look, I was feeling stressed out yesterday, all right? And it seemed to be for no reason. And I thought about it, and I was like, why are you here? And I realized it was because I was putting a lot of extra pressure on myself to get these courses out to you guys, all right? And I was like, wait a minute, I'm ahead of schedule. Relax, man. It's not going to kill you if this one takes an extra day. Quit rushing around. Take some time to smell the roses and relax. And that helped. Within like 5 minutes, I was feeling better. I took some deep breaths, did an afternoon meditation, and I was good. So causes of today's stress. All right, there's environmental stressors, such as difficulties at work, your relationship problems, or your family issues. We're going to talk more about each of these. Genetics. There are some genetic stuff going on that we'll talk about here. There's a lot of medical factors, folks. If you are sick, if you have disease, if you're on medication, all right, I'll tell you what, the medication I used to take for my AFib, which was triggered by stress, one of the side effects was it made you stressed out. I couldn't take that medication without loading up on supplements to help with my stress. It wasn't something I could control with my mind so much because it was a physical stress. Okay? It's hard to control physical stress with your mind. Like say you just had surgery. You're under stress, all right? And your body doesn't know the difference between mental or physical stress. It has the same effect. All right, mental and physical stress has the same. So if you're obese and you're carrying a ton of extra weight, you are under stress all the time. Okay, so that's why it's so important that we get our bodies and our minds healthy. Brain chemistry. All right, there's many anxiety disorders that are because of misalignments of hormones. I highly recommend seeing an integrative medicine doctor, a hormone specialist. I have one that I see here in San Diego, Dr. Marshall. She's amazing. I just actually had an appointment with her yesterday. She is going to actually allow us to interview her for some of our courses. So she will probably be appearing in like the Healthy Gut course and a couple other ones, hopefully if we get everything done here in time. And then withdrawal from illicit substances. So if you've been on a lot of drugs and stuff, that can cause a lot of stress as well. Even alcohol, right? Alcohol itself causes stress, but not so much when you're drinking it. That kind of makes you feel relaxed, but afterwards it causes extra stress. And then world stress, folks. This one's a big one. This one was a big one for me. And a lot of it's because I have this genetic thing, and I'm going to explain, all right? But it's why I had to cut out world stress, because it would bother me and I couldn't let it go. It's like I just couldn't let it go. Something about, there was a girl that was abducted near where I live about 7 or 8 years ago, I think now. And she was abducted and killed, and then another girl abducted and killed. And, they found out who did it. And this guy's like appearing on TV, and I couldn't let it go. I mean, I just wanted the worst for this guy. The whole thing disgusted me. I mean, I have kids. I had to quit watching it because it was ruining my day and stressing me out. All right. Hey, so environmental stresses. All right. There's a picture of my beautiful family here, minus my daughter. Actually, this was at the wake for my dad. He passed away from when this was recorded just not even a couple months ago in January. I guess, it was a couple months ago now. This is March. But this was us at his wake. I got the boys dressed up in suits. That was amazing. But we'll talk about work here first. So deadlines, commitments, bosses, coworkers, these things can all stress you out. But it's the way that you think about it and the way that you handle it. All right, it's the way that you let it come down on you. It's the way you treat it in your mind. And saying no is an important thing. I've said to my boss several times, like, hey, the plate's full. If you want this done by then this doesn't get done by then, because I'm not going to work 24 hours a day. All right. Your personal relationships, your spouse, your significant other, you have to have a good relationship there. If you don't, you need to assess. All right. If you don't have a good relationship there, you need to assess. We're going to talk more about that. Your children, your parents, your friends, other family. If you don't have good relationships here, folks, it's a source of stress. All right. Do what you can to repair those relationships if they're faltered. Do what you can to spend time with these people. All right. These are the people that should love you. If they love you, spend time with them. That'll help reduce your stress. Family issues can be huge, okay? I'll tell you one thing. So when I was previously married to the mother of my children, of the boys, I was in all kinds of stress issues. And we were in a loveless marriage. There was no intimacy, and it was cold. Every night I went to bed, I was rejected basically by my significant other, and it hurt, and it stressed me out, and I just felt trapped because I felt like I shouldn't get divorced because it's best for the kids if I stayed together. And it wasn't until I started going to therapy for my anxiety that we kind of got to the root cause that one of the biggest things that was stressing me out in my life was my marriage. So I tried to get my ex-wife to go to counseling. She wouldn't go. I tried to get her to work on us. She wouldn't do it. Everything was always my fault. It was my dad that told me eventually, he said, hey, son, think about it. Because he had lived with us for a few months when he was out visiting from Ohio. And he said, I've never seen her apologize to you for anything. Has she ever apologized to you for anything? Has she ever been wrong? And wow, that hit me like a ton of bricks. I realized no, she hadn't. And I had some conversations with her, and everything was always my fault. I was never a good listener. That's what she'd always tell me. You can't listen. And I have to admit, I am not the best listener, but man, I was working on it. But there was no reward ever for getting better at it. It was like I had to fix everything that was wrong with me for her to even give me one little bit. And she wouldn't go to counseling. We wouldn't work on it. She's the type of person that just, didn't want to admit that she was ever wrong. So she'd never say she was sorry. So I had to get out of that. It wasn't serving me. It wasn't serving me to grow old with someone that I was just miserable with. All right. So you need to assess these things in your lives. You need to assess, if your parents are negative all the time and it's not serving you, have a talk with them. Let them know, hey guys, I love you. And I know you love me, but you got to stop being so negative with me. I'm sure I'm going after my dreams. I'm doing whatever it is that you're doing or whatever they don't agree with, right? Just support me. Can't you guys just support me? Have those types of conversations. Don't be afraid to have those conversations. And I know going into those conversations, that's anxiety, right? You're worried about it. How's it going to go? All right. But trust me, you're going to feel better after you've had them. All right. Genetics and stress. So there's this thing called COMT. And it's how your genetics affect your performance when you're under pressure. It's like this thing called the worrier or the warrior. All right, COMT is an enzyme which helps break down dopamine. I'm not going to read the slides. I've got something else I'm going to read to you guys. Each of us carries 2 copies of the COMT gene. It's either the A or G or one of each. So we can either carry A or G, or we can carry one of each. Or we can carry 2 of one, actually. So the worrier, the A allele, breaks down dopamine more slowly, and so A allele carriers tend to have more dopamine in their prefrontal cortex. The result is that these individuals are more susceptible to stress, have lower pain thresholds, and are more prone to anxiety. The warrior, G allele, breaks down dopamine more efficiently, resulting in greater resilience in the face of stress. According to the 1000 Genomes Project, an estimated 37% of the population carries at least one copy of the A allele. So like 37% of us carry this A allele. I carry it. I have a single, all right? As with most things in life, there can be a trade-off. A allele carriers show less resilience in the face of stress. They show a cognitive advantage under non-stressful circumstances. Lab research using puzzles and IQ tests have found that in less stressful scenarios, the warriors tend to have an advantage. It appears these genotypes represent 2 different strategies for processing information and problem solving. So, these are, kind of, you don't think of A-type, B-type personality. That's a different thing. But these folks typically they process thought differently, right? And when it's not super stressful, they can actually process thought better. What about people in the middle? In the case of the COMT gene, the genotypes are additive, meaning the effects of each change sums to the overall total effect. Individuals carrying both A and G have only half the decrease in dopamine breakdown, and intermediate between warriors and warriors. So that's where I'm at, right? I have both A and G. Genetics isn't your genes, so your genes aren't your destiny, folks. Human beings are adaptable, and we can adjust our actions to compensate for weaknesses and capitalize on strengths. Understanding your unique genetics can help you work with your body towards a healthier lifestyle. The first step could be getting a personalized glimpse into your own genetic type. So we'll talk a little bit here about that, right? This BDNF stuff is basically how your genetics affect your ability to tolerate stress, right? And you guys can read through this a little bit here, but it's a protein that improves the functionality of neurons. We're getting kind of technical here on some of this stuff, but I want you guys to understand that genes do play into the way that we process stress. All right. So where do you get tested? All right. Find an integrative medicine practitioner if you haven't already. We'll talk more about finding integrative medicine doctors and interviewing your doctors and stuff in our course on that. And there's this website, AGS. You can go to this website and you can order a test. They'll send it out to you. You do a swab in your mouth. They test you. It's pretty simple. This is how I got tested. My integrative medicine doctor actually ordered it. She ordered it for me and for my boys. So I have one A and the G, and my youngest son, Colin, he's got both. So he's got both A, right? So he really has trouble letting things go. I mean, he gets upset at his brother or his sister or me or whatever, and he just cannot let it go, right? It's really hard for him to let it go. So we've, done some counseling with him, and, our natural medicine doctors also prescribed him some supplements to help him out. He takes some MagCalm at night with dinner, and then it helps him sleep better, and it helps him to let go of things. And then there's a homeopathic medicine he puts under his tongue, which will be in the supplement section. Well, more information on that. I've had to coach myself to let go of things that do not serve me, and have been working with him on that as well, right? We actually meditate at night. We do things to work on those things. Somehow Aiden, my oldest son, only has a single of each as well. I don't know how that worked out. So in order for Colin to have both A's, that means I had an A and his mother at least had one A. That's the end of chapter 3, folks. Well, welcome to the last chapter. How do we reduce anxiety in our lives? Listen, now that you guys know what anxiety is really all about, how it builds up in our systems, how we don't get rid of it unless we're doing something to get rid of it, especially with today's stressors. Now we're going to talk about how you can get rid of it. Some different techniques to get rid of it, as well as to just to live a little calmer life, right? And not be your stress. All right. Meditating is a huge one. We're going to talk about this one, and we have a whole course on this one as well that you should definitely take that will teach you how to meditate, right? But meditating is basically taking your right brain to the gym. It strengthens our creative muscles and helps us to have a more productive day. So think about that. You're taking your body to the gym. You should really take your brain to the gym. All right, so the ways that we can reduce our stress. The ones in red here that you see, we're going to go pretty deep into. So eliminating the stresses that you can, getting those things out of your life. Meditation and yoga, deep breathing, practicing mindfulness and exercise. We're all going to go into more depth in those in future slides here. Changing the way you think is huge. Right? Just like I said, to talk to your anxiety, ask it why it's here. That's part of changing the way you think. Our mindset class is all about changing the way you think. Journaling, right? Write things down. One way to handle stress is to write things down. While recording what you're stressed out about is one approach, another is just jotting down what you're grateful for. Gratitude may help relieve stress and anxiety by focusing your thoughts on what's positive in your life. Join a meditation, yoga, or mindfulness meetup group. All right, there's tons of them out there. I personally like to do my meditation by myself. It's been a while since I went to a group meditation class, but I started out that way. Yoga, I do like to do in a studio, but I usually do it on my own because I can't find a 7 a.m. yoga class anywhere. It's like it doesn't exist. You either got to be there at 6 or at 9, and it's just tough to get to yoga class by 6 because they don't let you come in if you're a few minutes late. I get to the gym around 6:10, and it's just my morning routine. That's when it puts me there. So caffeine. Reduce your caffeine intake can help hugely with stress. So caffeine's a stimulant. It actually stimulates your body, believe it or not, because it's poison. Okay, caffeine is actually poison. Most people don't know this. So it's in coffee, it's in tea, it's in chocolate, and it's in energy drinks. All right. So I don't do any of those except for the chocolate. I'll have in small amounts. So higher doses increase anxiety. Even for me, a low dose, like if I have a tea that has caffeine in it and they like messed up and didn't give me the herbal tea, because I have tea all the time, but I drink herbal tea. It doesn't have caffeine in it. I know within minutes. I can feel it. I'm pretty in tune with my body. Energy drinks are horrible, folks. So we'll talk more about caffeine and stuff in another class. But people have different thresholds for how much caffeine they can tolerate. If you notice that caffeine makes you jittery or anxious, consider cutting it back. You maybe don't have to completely cut it out, but if you're one of these like 10 cups of coffee or 2 energy drinks, I'm telling you right now, if you're drinking energy drinks, you just need to stop. Those are like one of the most toxic things you can put in your body. They actually have been proven to cause heart arrhythmias, and I was pounding a couple monsters every single day when I was diagnosed with AFib. I was a caffeineaholic, and it was rough. I went completely cold turkey. I haven't had caffeine except for maybe by mistake a couple times in the last 11 years. Spend time with friends and family. All right, get more connected to your friends and family. A study found that men and women with the fewest social connections were more likely to suffer from depression and anxiety. Having more social connections actually helps you have less anxiety and less depression. Laugh. It's hard to feel anxious when you're laughing. It's good for your health, and there's a few ways it may help to relieve stress. Relieving your stress response, it relieves tensions by relaxing your muscles. All right, when we smile, when we laugh, we are less stressed. Learn to say no. Not all stressors are within your control, but some are. Take control over the parts of your life that you can change and are causing you stress. One way to do this may be to say no more often. This is especially true if you find yourself taking on more than you can handle, as juggling many responsibilities can leave you feeling overwhelmed. Being selective about what you take on and saying no to things that will unnecessarily add to your load can reduce your stress levels. Learn to avoid procrastination. Hey, procrastination can lead you to an act of reactivity, right? Because now you're behind, you're scrambling, you're trying to rush, you're trying to get caught up. Listen, I'm not a procrastinator, but I do rush and I do try to get, and I have to slow myself down sometimes because then that increases stress in my body. All right, get in the habit of making a to-do list and get yourself organized by priority. Give yourself a realistic deadline to get your things done. Eliminate the stressors. All right, so this is all about taking things that cause stress out of your life if you can. One of the ones that was big for me was watching less TV, watching less news. All right, I talked to you a little bit about the case of the abduction and the murder that happened with the girls near my neighborhood. I just remember how stressed out it made me, how angry I was all the time. I just had to shut off the TV. And I cut the cable several years ago, and I just don't watch the news very often. Sometimes when I travel, I'll turn it on in the morning for like 5 or 10 minutes. I'm in the dark a lot, but you know what? It doesn't matter. I almost never find myself in a situation where it matters that I don't know everything that's going on in the world. I can get a little bit of news from the internet, and I see what the big issues are, and I consume them relatively quickly, and then I'm on. I'm not sitting there listening for an hour to the news, just listening to negativity forever. Try to stay away from negative people. You can't cut all of them out of your life, but the ones that are the biggest stressors on you from a negativity standpoint, especially if they're family, have a conversation with them. All right? Spend more time with positive people. If your job or career is a problem, find a way out. Find a career, something that doesn't stress you out. Listen, I worked in IT for, I don't know, what was it, like 9-10 years, something like that. And I worked my way all the way up to a vice president for a major Fortune 500 company. I was then an IT director for a startup company. And I was so stressed out. I was leading a lethargic, behind-the-desk life. And I was, that's where I was at 34 years old. I found a way out. I found a job as a sales engineer instead, and at a more flexible company. And, I was traveling to customers. I was on my feet more, and I was doing something I loved to do instead of doing something I dreaded every day. Okay? If you're not doing something you love to do, it's going to be hard to not be stressed. All right, so try to find something you love. If you need to go get education to do that, then go get education to do that. All right? Hey, if your spouse is the problem, you need to go try to get counseling. If your significant other is the problem, I'm not saying to go and get a divorce or anything, without giving it a try. But if that's the problem, if they're not willing to change and you're going to be in misery for the rest of your life because of it, then you need to consider your options, folks. I did. Okay? It's somewhat extreme maybe, but I lead a much happier life now. I was much happier when I was single than I was when I was divorced to my previous wife. And I'm even more happy now that I found someone that's a match for me, someone that cares and loves me. All right? Meditation, yoga, and deep breathing. Hey, stress causes our breathing to become shallow. Okay, so we get really shallow. We take these short breaths. You don't even realize it. Think about your breathing. Okay, think about how you're breathing right now. All right, are you shallow breathing or are you tummy breathing? All right, I just brought conscious to it. I was actually shallow breathing while I'm doing this course on stress. Right, so now I'm taking deeper breaths. And I feel a little bit better. My shoulders were starting to get tight, right? The goal of deep breathing is to focus your awareness on your breath, making it slower and deeper. When you breathe in deeply through your nose, your lungs fully expand and your belly rises. You're not trying to make your chest rise, you're trying to make your belly rise. And we'll talk about this much more in the meditation class. The act of meditating makes us conscious of our breathing. All right, that's why meditation is so important. We become conscious of our breathing and we start breathing in a regular. I don't necessarily think about my breathing specifically when I meditate anymore. I'm focusing on a mantra, or if I'm doing mindfulness, I'm focusing on maybe a body scan or something like that. But now that I've meditated for the last 11 years, as soon as I get in the position, I start to breathe in a much more relaxed way. And I start to fully breathe. So remember how we talked about stress builds in your body, right? Unless there's a release, unless there's some sort of release, some sort of normalization, it builds in your body and it does not go away. Well, meditation is one of those things that can help you to release it. Exercise and meditation, those are the two big ones. You either burn off the adrenaline and the cortisol, which exercise is still very important for that. Meditation helps you to heal your body and reset your mind. All right? Yoga, by the way, is just moving meditation. Now, the commercialization of yoga have made it a lot of other things. All right? I do like some hot yoga, but I mean, there's like yoga with goats now. There's all kinds of weird yoga out there. Just regular old yoga is really just moving meditation. All right. And if you're going to start out with yoga, I recommend starting out with something much, much more mild than, any of the kind of crazy stuff out there. Check out our meditation course, which is 2 courses from this one. You can skip the Western disease course and go straight to meditation. If it's something you really, really want to jump into quickly, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. And then mindfulness. Mindfulness is just mainly being in the present moment. We're going to talk a little more about mindfulness as well. These are types of meditation. So mindfulness meditation is a type of meditation, right? It's where we're putting ourselves in the present moment. Okay, we're trying to focus on right here, right now, what we're doing, our breathing. There are other types of mindfulness meditations we can do, like loving kindness or body scans. Body scans are where we scan our body and feel how our toes are feeling, and then work our way up to our neck and our shoulders and our head, or we can start at the opposite end. There's also Zen and then transcendental. So transcendental meditation is the meditation I do the most. I used to do mindfulness almost exclusively, and doing the loving kindness and the body scans. I do mindfulness meditation with my kids. And then I do transcendental with my own, which is basically where you meditate to a mantra. And we'll talk more about that in the meditation course. So mindfulness. The key to mindfulness is to live in the present moment. Keep your mind in the present moment. I know I struggle with this. It can be a little counterintuitive to just, setting goals and trying to achieve them and things like that. But if you set your goals, and that in that present moment, you're setting your goals for the future, that's where you're living. You're living at setting your goals. And then throughout the day, when you think about your goals and you're working on achieving a goal, you're living in the present moment, achieving that goal. Don't be thinking about, I need to check my email. I recommend, and this is probably my biggest productivity killer is email. And what I've started to do is set like 3 times a day that I look at email, and I just have a time. Otherwise, I don't look at it. All right. If somebody really needs to get a hold of me, they can text me or call me. you want to approach new and familiar things with a beginner's mind. So not just new things, but also familiar things. Things that maybe it's eating. Eating it's so awesome to eat mindfully and just think about everything about the piece of whatever it is you're putting in your mouth. Be non-judgmental of others, of things, and of yourself. Don't prejudge things before you go into them. Practice patience. Be accepting. Let go of the things that do not serve you. Trust in yourself. Those are what mindfulness is all about. I recommend reading Full Catastrophe Living by John Kabat-Zinn if you want to learn more on mindfulness. There's also mindfulness-based stress reduction courses. I took one. It was a huge lifesaver for me with where I was anxiety-wise. I remember I almost canceled going to the course, and the instructor, Karen Suthers, called me up, and she talked me into going. And at the end of the course, I remember filling out the survey, and I think the course cost $500. And there was a question asked if I felt like I got my money's worth out of the course, and I basically said I could have paid $10,000 for that course for what I got out of it, and it would have been worth every penny. It was that important in my life at the time, and important in my life now that I did it. It set me on a trajectory. Exercise. All right, we can burn off all of those bad chemicals. Well, they're not bad. They're needed sometimes. But we can burn off that adrenaline and that cortisol and the dopamine by exercising regularly. All right, it sets our chemicals right in our brain. It helps our brain regulate the release of hormones and helps our endocrine system. It helps everything by exercising, by moving. The more sedentary we are, the more stress we can be under. Right? Exercise improves our sleeping. It increases our energy and our health, which also reduces body stress, because the more unhealthy we are, the more weight we carry, the more inflammation we have in our body, the more stress we have on our body. So supplementation. Supplementation is something that you probably should talk to your natural medicine doctor about. I highly recommend that, or even your regular doctor. But here are just some things that most of these actually, I'll say if there's any of them that actually pretty much all of these you can just, I mean, they're just off the shelf type things, right? Chamomile is basically flower. It's tea. I grow my own chamomile, and it essentially, it relaxes you. It helps with sleep. It's very easy to grow. Lemon balm. I also grow my own lemon balm. Lemon balm is part of the mint family. It's been studied for its anti-anxiety effects. Omega-3 fatty acids can help huge with anxiety. So if you're not taking like a fish oil supplement or something, you could do that to help out with your anxiety. It helps with your brain health. I'm not even going to pretend to pronounce this, but it's an herb. I don't use this. I never have. Green tea, although there is some caffeine in it, the antioxidants in it can help with health. It helps with your health and whatnot, which helps lower stress and anxiety by increasing your serotonin levels. So I know me, when I got tested for my doctor for my hormones, my serotonin was level, which is also why I take the GABA, which is down below. Valerian root is a popular sleep aid due to its tranquilizing effect. So some of these you don't want to take except for maybe right before bed, like GABA and valerian. I don't drink chamomile unless it's right before bed as well, or a couple hours before bed. At least I'm down relaxing. I don't like to drink tea right before bed because then I get up in the middle of the night to use the restroom. Kava kava is a psychoactive member of the pepper family. It's been used for a long time as a sedative in the South Pacific. It's increasingly being used in Europe and the U.S. to treat mild stress and anxiety. And then GABA. GABA is a chemical made by the brain. It helps improve mood and relieve anxiety. I've been taking GABA for about 10 or 11, maybe 8 years now. Something that I started taking when I started seeing my natural medicine doctor. And it's helped me a ton. I actually ran out of it and didn't realize it. And I separate my supplements every 2 weeks. I do like a 2-week supply, and I ran out of it and didn't realize it. And like 3 or 4 days later, I was like, wow, I feel off. And my GABA levels are low in my brain, so I take this supplement. Natrum mercurium, again, another one I probably just butchered. It's a homeopathic medicine that dissolves under the tongue. Hey, this works really great for fast relief when you just can't let go of something. My 10-year-old carries this around in his backpack. If something happens that he's just like, he's just so angry, he will just grab this, pops 3 of them under his tongue, and he goes, and he's somewhat relaxed. He said it helps him take the edge off and helps him refocus his mind. All right, folks, taking action. Those that eat a lot of greens in their diet get 11 more years of healthy brain function. This is from a Rush University study. Guys, think about that. Think about people that have Alzheimer's or dementia. What would they give to have had 11 more years of healthy brain function? So let's say you're in your late 60s and you get dementia, or in your 70s, to live into your 80s possibly, right? With a clear mind, or maybe your 90s, or come on. How important is that to you? I think that one of the biggest fears I have is losing my mind someday. Still being physically okay, but losing my mind. But the truth of the matter is that doesn't happen very often. It doesn't happen very often where someone physically is in good shape in their later years and they get dementia. Usually it's, the opposite. They're not in good shape, right? So listen. Take action now. Write down the major stresses in your life. Do not leave out toxic foods. Toxic foods are a big stressor. All right? They make you unhealthy. Think about that. Toxic foods make you unhealthy. Therefore, it puts more stress, more inflammation on your body. Diseases, pain, injury. Don't forget any of those. All right? Pick 3 stresses in your life that you can confront or eliminate. So obviously, if you have an injury, maybe you have to wait till it gets better. But if you're eating toxic food, you could address that. If you have disease, you can address that too by being healthier, right? Not all diseases, depends on what you have. Some things you can't get rid of. But pick your top 3 sources of stress that you can eliminate. Pick 3. Doesn't have to be the top 3, but pick 3, okay? Get rid of unnecessary world stress. I'm telling you, it doesn't serve anyone to know what's going on all over the world, every bad thing that happens, because that's all it's in the news most of the time, is all the bad things that happen. Start to practice deep breathing. Put deep breath magnets in your environment. So what this is going around and it could be a magnet, it could be a sticker, something, putting it on things that maybe it's the refrigerator. Every time you go in the refrigerator, you see this thing that gives you a mental cue like, oh, take a deep breath, right? Take a deep breath. I used to put them around the house. I don't do it anymore because I practice this on a regular basis, but this was huge for me at the beginning, okay? So those are your actions to take. That's the end of chapter 4.